Well, welcome back. It's time for another fun-filled math video. Today we're going to talk about products of mixed numbers. I am going to try to keep this brief-ish because there's a lot that happens in this, but it also builds on background information that we have. So stay with me, have that journal ready, take those notes. Let's be ready. Let's dive in. So as always, let's break apart what we're talking about, right? We're going to talk about some products today. So again, remember that products is the answer to a multiplication problem. So we are going to be multiplying, and we are going to be multiplying. Oh, and look, it even says of. There you go. There's that keyword. We're going to be multiplying mixed numbers. And remember, a mixed number is a mix, hence its name, mixed numbers. It is a mix of a whole number and then parts of a number, right? So an example might be something like 2 and 1/4. Again, the whole number being 2 and then 1/4, the part of a whole that's left over. And this is put together. So 2 and 1/4. So in today's video, we're going to be thinking about, like, what do we do when we multiply things like this, right? An example right away might be, and we'll, of course, talk more, let's say 2 and 3/4, that's a mixed number. And what if we multiplied that by a whole number, okay? So let's actually dive into that. I'm going to go ahead and post some steps. So again, always feel free to pause and write these things down in your journal so you can think about it. But what we're going to do first, and this might be a little bit longer, but the first thing we're probably that would be very helpful is to estimate, because that will give us a quick idea of like what we should have. So we'll get to that. After estimation, we're going to use the area model approach. This is something we did with whole numbers before, so this is something we are aware of. So if you don't remember, that first then step, which is actually step 2 for us, is to expand our numbers. We're then going to build our array and multiply. And then we will have those products in which we will add together. So we'll add products. Now, this also realize that these products, I'm going to use that term loosely, right? Those might be fractions and mixed numbers and things like that. So we will have to remember to make sure our numbers are compatible. We need to make sure that our answers are written as mixed numbers, not as top-heavy fractions and things like that. So you can see already before we even start, like, if we break apart this 4-step process, which is 1 step longer than normal, it also comprises of so many more difficult things that we have to remember to do. And I shouldn't even say difficult. It's just the things we need to remember to do. So let's dive in and do this. So estimate, step 1, right? So estimate. I want to again think about how much this is by rounding to whole numbers. Well, if I think about 2 and 3/4, right away, I'm thinking that is really close to 3, because 4/4 would equal 1. So I'm not even going to need to round this 8. So our answer should be about 24, right? And one thing I can think about is that I did round up to 3, which means my answer is going to be about 24, but it'll actually be less than 24 because I rounded up, right? This is an overestimation that I just did. So remember, these are all things we want to be thinking about. I forgot the S. I mean the E. Estimation, overestimation. Okay, so we know that. So there's that piece. I'm gonna have to move to another page to do this, but I'll flip back and forth because what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go to step 2, expand. So I'm actually gonna flip this. We know our answer is about. It's going to be about. I'm gonna write that again here. Sorry, that is sloppy. About 24. That's our estimation. That's step 1 done. Okay, step 2. We're going to expand. So again, I'm going to rewrite this problem. So 2 and 3/4 times 8. Now, if we're going to expand, and that's the same thing we do with any other numbers like we did with whole numbers, right? Remember with expansion, like if I had 317, I would expand that to 300 plus 10 plus 7, right? That's what expansion means. It looks at the value of each of these place values. Or digits, if you will, whatever helps you make sense of that. So if I was to think about that with a mixed number, it actually helps myself out pretty quickly because I have the whole number, which is 2, and then I have the 3/4. So that's actually the expansion right there. And then I have times, and then I have 8, and 8 doesn't get expanded. It's a single digit. We don't need to do that. Now, since I've done this, remember what this is doing is this is taking us back to the second step of where we go ahead and do the arrays, right? This is over here. This is why I'm putting like stars and arrows over here. Because if we're going to multiply these, we need to make rows and columns. And that's what expanding does. That's what's so cool about it. Because when I expand, I can say that this right here will be my rows, and this will be my column. And then this allows me to build that array. That array is a rectangular or square shape, right? It's equal rows and columns. And in this case, according to my rows, I have one row that I call 2. And then I have a second row that I can call 3/4, right? And I'm just labeling it. I'm not going to draw it. I could like cut this into 3/4 and shade 3/4 of them in, but that could also get really complicated. So instead of doing that, I'm literally just going to label it. I'm just going to say that this column or this row, excuse me, is called 3/4, right? That's this one right here. And this row right here is called 2. And then if I go up to my columns, I see that I only have one column. It's 8. So here's 8. Now, again, right, I could cut this into 8 pieces and like do the modeling, but I actually don't have to go through that process now because I do just understand that it is 8 units, and because I just labeled it, right? This is what this is. It's a label. This 8 is a label. So now we multiply. And so we just go through that. So this section, I'm going to change the color, even though I know that wasn't in the steps, the color I used, but this section right here is really where I'm going to take this column, or excuse me, this row of 2, and I'm going to multiply it by this column of 8. So that gets me 16. I'm going to circle that because that's what it would be, right? If I cut it 2 by 8, that's literally what I'd have. I'd have 16 squares. And then here I have 3/4 times 8. And so now we already know, like we've done that, right? There's so many techniques to multiplying my fractions. I could write 3/4 8 times. I could draw 8 things and break them into 4 groups and how many are in 3, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is one thing I know is that I literally can just say 3 times 8 is 24, and then my denominator stays the same. So that's 24 out of 4. So that's a top heavy fraction. So I'm going to convert that. So see again, look at all this extra work I'm doing. So 24 out of 4, or 24 divided by 4, actually equals 6 wholes. So the answer to this section right here is 6. Okay, so I have 16 and I have 6. So if we go back to the next, that means we are going to add our products. So this one should work out pretty well for us. I don't have a lot of, I actually just have 2 whole numbers. I don't have things to really deal with. So I'm gonna go ahead and take 16. I'm gonna add 6 to that. So that gets me 12, 22. And that's my answer. When I take 2 3/4 and I multiply that by 8, I'm going to end up with 22 as my final answer. Now, let's go back and check our estimation. 24. And remember, we said this would be an overestimation because we rounded up. And I would say that 22 is really close to 24. So this checks out. So this is how we do that area model work. Now, again, like I said, I was going kind of fast because there's a lot of steps to this. So I don't want the video to be too long because it takes a lot of steps to do each problem, which is fine, right? Taking time to do something doesn't mean it's hard or impossible. But let's do another problem. We're going to do 4 1/2, and let's multiply it by 1 1/2. Let's do 2 mixed numbers this time. Now, remember, again, we're going to estimate. That would be step 1. I'm going to go ahead and estimate. Step 2, I'm going to expand. Right, so I'll expand out those mixed numbers. Step 3, yes, I know they're probably not the same color. That's okay. I'm going to build my array, right? That's why I expand. It helps me take my rows and columns. And then once I have my array, I'll just multiply. And then I'm going to take those numbers I've multiplied and I'm going to add those products together. Now, again, remember, in this case, I might actually have some mixed numbers or top-heavy fractions that I'll have to convert, and I'll need things to be compatible and whatnot. So we'll see if that's the case with this one. I'll try to do it all on one page. So step 1, let's estimate. We have 4 1/2, which to me would be about 5. And we're going to multiply that by 1 1/4, which is actually to me about 1. So my answer will be about 5. Okay. Check, done, moving on, right? That's the cool thing about estimation. It shouldn't take long. It's quick, compatible numbers. So now we're going to expand. So I have 4 1/2 that I'm going to expand into 4 wholes plus 1/2. And I'm going to call these my rows. And we are multiplying this by, oops, I'm going to write that up here. Sorry, multiplying this by 1 1/4, which expands to 1 plus 1/4, right? And these will be my columns. So again, I hope you can see where I'm expanding this out, right? The 4 plus 1/2, the 1 plus 1/4. Okay, so now we're going to build an array, which I said I'm going to do this all on one page, so this is going to be silly. Let's see, we did that with orange. So I'm going to build my array, which is a rows and columns. Ooh, I hope this isn't too small. And I see here with my rows, I have 2 of them. I have a row of 4 and I have a row of 1/2. And then as I go up here, I have a column of 1 and I have a column of 1/4. And now we just multiply. So 4, sometimes I'll write them up here so we can see it. So this is a row of 4 times a column of 1. That gets me 4 wholes. This is a row of 1/2 times a whole of 1, a column of 1. So that would get me 1/2. Right? Any number times 1 is the same number. Here, and I'm going to circle these because these are my final answers to this part. Over here, I have 4 wholes times 1/4. That's going to get me 1. Okay. And if you didn't see how I did that math, that's 4 times 1/4. So that's literally 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, which equals 4/4. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. So again, And then here I'm multiplying 2 fractions. I have 1/2 times 1/4, which actually equals 1/8. Okay, so those are my parts. Now what I got to do is I got to add these together. Oh boy, is this really going to fit on here? Let's see. I'm a little nervous because, okay, I can at least start with the whole numbers. So I know for sure right here I have 4 plus 1, so that's 5. So there's a whole number of 5. And now I need to add 1/2 plus 1/8. So I'm going to try to do that down here. I don't know if doing this on one page really was smart, but whatever. Okay, so compatible? No, right? If I'm adding fractions, we always check for compatibility, and they're not. But I do see that the lowest common multiple of these is 8. So I'm going to multiply 1/2, so I get 4/8. And now I have 4/8 plus 1/8, which equals 5/8, which would then be my final answer. 1 4 1/2 times 1 1/4 equals 5 5/8. And if we look at our estimation said it should be about 5. 5 5/8 is, yeah, that's about 5.5. So that's pretty close, right? So this checks out. So that's all I got. Like I said, I didn't want this. If I do another one, this video is going to be 20 minutes. So I'm going to pause it there. Feel free to like rewind and look at the other questions if you want to like make sense of this and go back through it. Maybe practice a couple on your own. But remember, the whole concept is think, take notes, trial and error, ask questions, and always seek out the help, right? It's not expected we always watch a video, know our math right away. But what is expected is that when we're not sure of what we're doing, we seek help and we gain that knowledge. That's what math and learning is all about. So, as always, appreciate you and your hard work, and we will see you in the next video. Peace out.